All right. Hey, everybody, how are you? I'm here showing up as I said I would. I'm Miss Wells, your favorite child care consultant. At least I hope I'm your favorite. I'm with Guidinglight Child Care Consulting. I'm here based in Maryland, but we do service the DMV area. So I kind of wanted to just touch on a few things tonight. But before I get there, I certainly hope you guys had an amazing day. I certainly hope you had a terrific Tuesday, as today is Terrific Tuesday, okay? All right, well, you know I don't own any of the rights to this music playing in the background, just some good old Jesus for you. So to get the, set the mood, set the mood, set the mood. All right, so as we're starting, I just definitely, tonight is going to be really brief because I do have a date with Jesus and his daddy. I got me some good old Bible study. Y'all go to Bible study? Well, I got Bible study at 7:30, so I just kind of wanted to make sure that I did this live before we started for the well, before I started my evening. Okay, so tonight's talk is going to be about effective supervision. It is a topic in childcare that is heavily talked about. It is heavily very prevalent, but unfortunately it gets misconstrued somehow. And before I start my talk, I just want to remind that childcare owners and directors, your managers, it starts at the top. It starts at the top with your leadership, your expectations, and what you want for your business. Now, quality childcare, it begins with adequate supervision, okay? We all know supervision is what? Supervision is looking at, observing, and all that stuff. But we gotta dive in a little deeper, and we've got to hold our employees accountable. Because before I really even dive in, let's be clear and let's understand supervision can be a liability. We do not need a lawsuit. We do not need anything of that nature because you didn't properly supervise these children. Okay? So when you're talking about supervision, you want to talk about the present. Okay? You can't supervise down the hallway, you know? And I get it. I've been in childcare a long time. I've been the assistant, I've been the teacher, I've been the director. I've done it all except for ownership. You know, briefly tried to toggle with it, but it's okay. But what I am saying in all those stages, I get it. You know, it's like, Miss Wells, how do we keep them from their phones? Because that's a big thing these days. These staff members on their telephones, that is a huge no-no. And I'm sorry. The only way I can tell you to justify that is to put it in your policy. And you know how staff get, oh, they being patty. The kids, they all. No, we don't have time for that. Because at the end of the day, that's your business. When that parent is upset because a child has been lost, and I will tell you, I've been in this game 20 years, and at least 10 of them have been dedicated to the hands-on opportunity of working in the classroom. I've never lost a child. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to give you some tips that I put in place as a manager to make sure things were done right. One, we got to hold people accountable. The only way to hold people accountable is enforcing your policies and procedures. So I don't know what people's policies and procedures are. I don't know. But I'm telling you, if it's not one of them, it's got to be in there. All right? You know, we've got to set the standard. We got to set the tone. You know, a teacher, you cannot observe a classroom. So I'm going to even break it down by positions, okay? Right now, I'm talking about the big wigs, meaning the ownership component of it, where you're should be held accountable. And I'm talking about the management component and where you should be held accountable for it, okay? Now, we have to take responsibility for these children. These are other people's most prized, I can't say it enough, most prized possession that we are housing. So when it comes to supervision and knowing those children, learning their names, knowing what they look like, we cannot take that lightly. You know, I actually like to pat myself on the back because when I was in management, give me 30 days. I'm going to know all those children, and I'm going to know every parent. I'm going to know their first and last name. I'm going to know their siblings, and I'm going to know how old they are. I'm going to know their favorite color. But that's because I was engaged. I was, I made it a component, of what I instilled in how I can be a leader to my employees that were looking up to me. Okay. So start off with that. We have to take responsibility that we are assigned to these children, okay? This is just as much as a team effort as it is an individual effort. Here's what I mean by the individual effort. Let's start here. Your teachers have to be held to a high standard because they are the managers of those classrooms. Attendance sheets should be done. Whatever your cutoff morning time is as an owner or your establishment, those attendance sheets should be done within the 15 minutes. So if your cutoff time is 9 o'clock, attendance needs to be done between 9 a.m. and 9:15. And how did we hold them accountable? By 9:15, we made rounds and we went to collect everyone's attendance. And if it wasn't done and ready to be submitted, I'll wait because that's how important it is. Or, okay, I may come back. But by the time I come back around, I need your attendance. At that time, as the manager, I'm going to the office. I'm going through the list. I'm checking the attendance sheets. I need to know who's here for the day. How can you run a business and you don't know who's here for the day? You just, I think Billy here. No, we don't have time to I think. We need to know. So this is a part of being held accountable. After attendance sheets are done, and submit it by 9:15, whatever, again, whatever your cutoff time is. Those teachers have to be held accountable. The next component, they are responsible for everyone that comes into their classroom. I'm not telling you to make another teacher responsible for someone else's classroom unless that teacher happens to be out for that day, okay? But they have to be in control. So you have to train your directors like a mini manager because they're managing that classroom that you assign them to. They are managing that assistant that you assign to them. And I say that because we all know assistants can be moved around. It would be nice if, childcare, most of the time it is, this is your aide or your childcare assistant, that'll be working with you in your classroom. Most of the time, it's a good fit, it matches, but guess what? You have to train your lead teachers on how to create a working relationship and environment because now both of those parties are just as much responsible for those children that are in that classroom. Very important, very important. Can't get away from it, all right? The assistants are there to kind of be like that backbone to that teacher. Okay, they have to be able to know how to bounce off the teacher and do. So if the teacher's teaching a lesson, that assistant is supposed to be engaged with those children, trying to make sure that they are engaged in whatever the activity is or whatever is going on that the teacher is trying to lead. So important, so important. And a lot of times that's where the ball gets dropped. So now I've talked about that. Let's be clear. The next step to a next tip to being held accountable is, as that attendance is done, guess what? We need to be doing a head count. Head counts, so important, especially on a field trip day. I think, I had my staff when I was in that arena, I had them trained. They knew when they lined their children up, I need a head count before you even get on that bus, that van, that whatever transportation vehicle we're going to get on, okay? The next component, if it was a field trip, they got on the bus, they got on the van, whatever vehicle we're using. I need another head count before we pull out. Because every time I tried to make as many field trips as I could. But here's the reality. As a manager, sometimes I needed to stay back, okay? So that means that I can't go. That means I have to trust. That word trust. I have to trust my staff. Now, of course, yes, at that time or during that moment, I have an assistant director that she's in charge and or whatever. But the reality is, I'm still not there. So I have to entrust in that staff that I have trained them adequately enough to make this process go smoothly and go right. All right. Supervision is just something that you cannot take lightly at no time, no function, no way. You cannot take it lightly. You got to be accountable for these children at all times, not just in the morning, not just lunchtime, not just nap time, not just field trip time, all of the times. So I've trained staff to do a head count periodically throughout the day. You'd have been outside. You'd have been outside, mixed and mingled amongst other children, yes, of the same center, but different classrooms. And you know how children are with their cute little busy selves. You didn't say line up and somebody from another class all in your line. They ain't even supposed to be in your line. And you didn't did a head count, but guess what? You didn't count somebody else that's supposed to be somewhere else. So again, that's the importance of knowing who is here today. As a teacher, as that assistant, be that teacher's backup. Something could happen to that teacher. God rest her soul, rest his soul, rest her soul. And she needs to leave early. Maybe I don't know what could happen. But you always be prepared. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So just as much as you're training those teachers on how to lead that classroom, the way you want your business run, you've got to kind of piggyback and make sure that those assistants, I don't care what classroom they work in, I don't care if they're a floating assistant, she needs to be aware of your daily operations and what's going on and what's expected, okay? So head counts are being done, attendance sheets are being done. Oh, and let's get back to field trips really quick. I hope and pray everybody knows by now. And if you don't, you're going to find out tonight. When you are going on a field trip, you best believe you are taking copies or some type of something that has these parents' emergencies information on it. These parents' contact information. I used to make sure we had a book bag. The book bag had the first aid kit. I know that's not really part of supervision, but hey, I might as well just tap on it real quick. Okay, the book bag had the first aid kit. I had the emergency cards for the kids. Had some extra bottles of water just for whatever. Cell phone, any type of walkie-talkies, make sure they're charged. So it's just all parts, again, of these daily operations that you got to do. So let's be clear. Tip 1, attendance needs to be done and collected by the director every day, no later than 9:15, because generally, your cutoff time is 9 o'clock for a child to be dropped off, okay? And guess what? When a child is coming in later that day because they went to the doctor or whatever, you have to be accountable for that as well. The director will, pretty much probably be on that, but she needs to let you know, hey, little Johnny, he's coming in about noon. Make sure you make a mental note of that or write that down somewhere where you need to know. So when he comes in, now instead of your head count being 18, it's now 19. You gotta know. You got to know. It is that imperative. The next component that we talked about is doing your head counts. That should be something that is just doing regularly just for GP. All right. Supervision is definitely the simplest component of being within sight and sound of these children. But sight and sound doesn't mean you down the hallway. Oh, I can hear him. It doesn't work like that. Because I promise you, the first time something happens, I tell people this all the time. Parents can be all chatty, watty, and hee hee ha ha. But I promise you, something happened to their child. Oh, that's gone out the window. You better hope you can fix whatever's going on. Now, I used to be queen to put out the fires, but sometimes it's just unnecessary fires. So I'm just saying it's a team effort to work together. Now, assistants, they should always serve as that assister, the filler, fill in the blanks, the backbone and the backup to making the daily operations run, whether it's within that classroom or not. Now, here's also what I mean about teamwork. Let's go to my favorite one, supervision on the playground, honey. It breaks my heart that employees working with children find it okay to be over here sitting away from the kids tomorrow. I can see them. It doesn't work like that. Because sometimes I have been within, I don't know how close it seems like I am to you, but I've been this close with a child and something could happen that fast. But I was right there. I wasn't down the hallway, around the corner, in the building. No. So I'm going to teach you another Very important if this is not in your policies and procedures. So these are things that you have to talk about in your policies and procedures as you're onboarding your staff. Your expectations. Your expectations. Playground supervision. Your staff should be stagnant within the areas of the children play. Let's take, if one class is out playing on the playground, one staff should be at one end, the other staff should be at the other end. They should be able to see at both ways what's going on. Every now and then, you got to walk over here and tie the shoe. You got to do this, but you got to come back and you got to understand. They've got to be trained to understand their purpose. It's got to be drilled in them. Either they're going to do it or they're going to get off the ship, because this is your business. Again, I cannot and will not stress that enough. This is your business. So you have every right to have it run the way you see fit, the way you need, okay? Staff members should not be on their phone. I am sorry. I didn't say they couldn't have their phone, because, staff members, they might have their own kids, emergencies, taking care of parents, whatever. I'm not saying they can't have it, but I shouldn't see a staff member over here all on the phone, texting and all. We know working with children, it takes that fast for something to happen. That fast, okay? So, again, for your policies and procedures, staff should not be on their phones. This is a policy that you're definitely going to have to enforce. It is what it is. There's no way you're going to tell me you can adequately supervise while you texting and on the phone, because your attention span is gone somewhere else. Okay? The next component about that is it poses a liability. That's the bottom line, really, to everything that I said today, this evening. Anything that you have going on with children, it's already a liability the moment they walk in your door. So you want to limit the liabilities. The only way you limit the liabilities is by putting things in place, by putting policies and procedures in place. I even go as far as, make them sign the policies and procedures. Make them sign your expectations. Write that up. Type that up. Give it to them. Let them read it. Go over it in a meeting. Whatever, however you feel like you need it to be relayed. Because the bottom line is, when a write-up comes down the line, or when an enforcement of the policy comes down the line, or when you're unfortunately maybe fired, you lose a child, or we ain't got nothing to talk about. I mean, yeah, I want to hear what happened, but it's on your watch. So I got to let you go. Because you just cost me a whole liability. I might be up against a lawsuit now because you lost a child. Hope to God, pray that child's all right. But let me tell you, that is a scary feeling. I never have lost a child, but I thought I did. And I'm going to tell you again, supervision, you've got to do your checks and balances. When you are on these field trips, I'm going to tell you why I'm bringing this up. Because when I tell you that I almost lost a child, because I did the head counts, I'm like, I had the right head count when we got on the bus. What's going on? So when you're on these transportations, these vehicles, you got to check them. And I asked the staff member, did you check the back of the bus? Yeah. I took their word for it. So unfortunately, in this business, I've learned I can't just solidarity take your word. I got to check behind you for my sanity, for my job, for my peace of mind. And I went back on that van, and child back there asleep. Now, I had a conversation with the staff member later on, but I promise you, I don't let any vehicle, whether it was a hired transportation or whatever it is, to come on and leave our facility without me doing a check of that van. So I say that to say, field trips, everything that you instill when you are at the center, at your home, you got to instill that when they do these field trips. Field trips are like that supervision times 10 heightened. Yes, for supervision, when you're doing field trips, you want to try to have some of your parents go along to volunteer. But guess what? I tell people all the time, I don't care if every parent went. They're still under our care, under our management during this time frame. So I need my staff to be the first to react if something's going on. I don't care if the mother or the father is right there. Hey, Miss So-and-so, you see it? All right, just make sure you see. It's called paying attention to detail. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's what's gotten me this far in my career when I was hands-on in the center. I pay attention to detail. So if you haven't been, you better start learning how to do it. Pay attention to detail. The bottom line to this whole supervision talk again is the bottom line of, if it's not done adequately, this is causing a liability for your business, for yourself, for the staff, the parents. That's too much already. I'm about to get a headache just thinking about it. So you guys make sure you're enforcing these policies. I hope you were able to pick up some of these tips along the way, but I'm going to tell you right now, every employee got to always have their eyes open, ears ready when you're working with these children. I don't care if we just went out to the playground. That's just even more important. So just to think about how important it is once you leave your facility and you go somewhere else, meaning to a field trip. So, hope you guys learned something. Hope I gave you some great tips. I'm going to sum them up one more time. Head counts regularly, even throughout your day, even if you didn't go nowhere to no field trip. Attendance should be done between 9 and 9:15 a.m. As a manager, you should be going to collect that attendance from your teachers by 9:15. You should be able to come back to your office or wherever it is that you need to be, and you need to go through it, because I can't stress enough, you need to know who's there for the day. And if you're not there, then your assistant director got to be right on it. And you got to train your staff. You got to train these people the way you want your business run. That's just it. There's no other way for me to really say it, slice it, dice it. You have to train from the director. If you're not the owner and the director, you got to train that assistant director to train these staff the way you want your business run. Head counts. Daily attendance collected by 9:15. Everybody is held accountable. Eyes within sight and sound of the children at all times. You can multitask and still be able to do what you need to do. It is so important, so important, so important. I'm going to end this live tonight by just letting you know the importance of supervision is a liability issue. So you got to get on it. Them staff not doing what you need to do, you put these policies and procedures into play. You put them in practice. You write them up, you type them up, you make them sign it. You got to hold these people accountable, because they messing with your business and your livelihood. You got them working for you, great. I hope they know what they doing. But we don't want no liabilities. So with that being said, I'm Miss Wells. Hope you guys were able to learn something. Tonight's talk was about supervision, accountability, and just making sure you're putting things in place so we don't have no liabilities. You all have an amazing night. I'll talk to you another time. I love you guys. Keep doing what you do. And I thank you. I thank you for joining and showing up for me. You have a